Commission.
Mr. President, honourable members, in the face of rising tensions and polarisation, more than ever, the European Union must reaffirm its commitment to protecting fundamental rights, the rule of law and democracy both within and outside its borders. In this context, respect for freedom of thought, conscience and religion is among the core values we must defend. The European Commission is committed to ensuring the protection of these rights, which are expressed in Article 10 of the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. The Commission is committed to protecting members of all religious groups from intimidation, discrimination, violence or attack, as well as from persecution. The Commission is also committed to promote intercultural and interreligious dialogue as a way to promote tolerance and equal rights for all. Freedom of religion or belief is an essential feature within our Union, but of our external human rights policy as well. And the EU guidelines on the promotion and protection of freedom of religion or belief reflect our commitment to this freedom abroad. The implementation of these guidelines on freedom of religion and beliefs remain a priority of EU's external action. The appointment of Mr. Frans van Dijlen as Special Envoy for the promotion of freedom of religion or belief outside the EU is the expression of our commitment to protect victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief worldwide. This appointment also reflects our commitment to promote engagement with all stakeholders, public authorities, civil society and religious or non-confessional organizations to address the rights of believers and non-believers. The line with all our partners across the world is clear. We consistently condemn discrimination, intolerance, violence and persecution against or by any person based on grounds of religion or belief. We call on all countries to protect the right for everyone to have or not have a religion or belief, to manifest or to change their religion or belief, while condemning the criminalization of apostasy and abuse the blasphemy laws. We condemned attacks against places of worship and against persecution and discrimination against people of all faiths as well as non-believers. We also strongly condemn discrimination or violence perpetrated in the name of religion, in particular violence against women or against LGBTI persons. The instrumentalization of religion must be rejected, and many religious leaders around the world are standing against such instrumentalization. This is also why intercultural or interreligious dialogue must be further promoted. Religious tolerance is essential to establish civil peace. This dialogue must also be pursued with a human rights perspective, ensuring respect of freedom of religion or belief, freedom of expression and other human rights and fundamental freedoms. In promoting freedom of religion or belief, the EU will continue to cooperate with the United Nations, which is setting universal standards applicable to all countries. We continue to draw attention as appropriate to freedom of religion or belief in the Universal Periodic Review of the UN Human Rights Council. We support the mandate of the United Nations Special Rapporteur and yearly resolutions in relevant United Nations human rights fora. We have raised our concerns in 20 human rights dialogues that we hold with partner countries. The EU has also taken several initiatives to foster freedom of religion and beliefs at local level, including involving civil society actors, faith-based organizations, humanists, atheists, and religious actors. We are also providing concrete support to freedom of religion or belief through the EU's human rights and civil society programs. Honourable members, our objective is clear. There is no place for intolerance, intimidation, discrimination, attack, persecution or violence in the name of religion or belief inside or outside the European Union. We remain fully committed to the protection and promotion of freedom of religion or belief for all. Thank you for your attention.
Very much, Commissioner Jurova. And now, for 2 minutes, Mr. Hölvényi.
President, ich bedanke mich. Madam Commissioner, dear colleagues, the general experience of the scientific reports show that we live in a time of unprecedented religious intolerance globally, unfortunately. Since 2021, as many as 40 countries of the world, people have been killed, abducted for their faith. At the same time, since 2019, the Commission unfortunately hesitated for 3 years with the appointment of the EU Special Envoy for the promotion of the freedom of religions outside the EU. This undermined clearly, this is my own experience, the EU's international credibility. Dear colleagues, around 84% of the global population identifies with a different kind of religious groups, according to the Pew Research Center. The basic human right of the freedom of religion is still not fully integrated into EU diplomacy. We still need to set milestones in dialogue with the churches, religious communities and their organizations active in this field in the EU and the third countries. According to Article 17 of the EU Treaty, the EU institution conducts some substantial and transparent dialogue with the religious communities, either. In the reality, we know it very well, however, this is not structured dialogue as such prior to any substantive EU decision-making. It is not a legal framework that is missing. Rather, the EU leadership refused to acknowledge the decisive impact of the religion in individual society. Without this, decision makers are unable to understand the importance of the religious freedom. A visible result today that we hold this debate in the very end of the plenary session on Thursday afternoon, with little presence of the colleagues, of course. Thanks for everybody who is present. I think it's really a simple shame. Let me recall, the free expression of the religion is not a matter of the religion, but it's a human right. And the fact is even deeper. It's one of the anthropological questions. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President, Commissioner, colleagues. 10 years ago, the Council introduced the guidelines on religious freedom. It's a good thing that we have guidelines, of course, but what about the implementation of these guidelines? I have serious doubts about that, and that is why I requested this debate. Article 70 calls for a 3-year review. But in 10 years' time, there has never been a report published on implementation or evaluation. And there are also supposed to be consultations with the Parliament about religious persecution. But in 10 years, that has never happened. The post of EU envoy was empty for 3 years. And finally, someone has been appointed. But in 10 years, the resources that he can rely on have decreased. President, a lot more needs to happen. Religious persecution is increasing worldwide. Look at a country like Nigeria, where in the last 20 years, 50,000 Christians have died because of their belief. Or look at the situation in Manipur, which we talked about yesterday. I've got 3 specific requests to the Commission. Come up quickly with a solid implementation report for the guidelines. Secondly, give the EU envoy a permanent mandate and make sure there's necessary personnel so that he can do his job. And then thirdly, declare the 24th of June, the date on which the guidelines were set, as a European Day for the fight against religious persecution. I'd like to hear the reaction from the Commission, and we cannot leave the Church and its believers neglected.
President, honourable members, I want to thank you for this useful debate on a very sensitive and important topic. I think that we all agree that the situation of freedom of religion or belief is alarming in many parts of the world and often related to conflict situations and unacceptable instances of religious persecution. In this respect, also I want to repeat that we already appointed the special envoy for the related matters, for the matters related to religious freedoms, and I call on all EU institutions to support the role of the special envoy for freedom of religion or belief. Let me maybe now repeat what I said before, because I think I was not rightly understood. Because here were the comments that the Commission is not defending the Christians abroad. So I will repeat what I said. We condemn attacks against places of worship and against persecution and discrimination against people of all faiths, as well as non-believers, including Christians. Also, for you, I will repeat what I said on LGBTI. Indeed, this is not a religion. So what I exactly said, we also strongly condemn discrimination or violence perpetrated in the name of religion, in particular violence against women or against LGBTI persons. So this is just to clarify the statement of the Commission by repeating it. And last comment on the contribution of Madame Sicurel, who is not here anymore. But the case of funding, indeed, in the previous mandate, we had a case of wrongly funded project. It was the project led by Leeds University, and was one of the partners which was supporting Islamist ideas and Islamists, and we stopped the funding, and I was very tough in requesting the money to be paid back. And I also tasked the Commission services to make sure that the system will not allow such funding anymore. I am unhappy to say that there is another case now, but the system discovered this case soon. Also in this case, we were very resolute, very quick. The money had to be paid back. And I want to also guarantee you that we will undertake as tough control as possible, so that not to fund the projects or the entities which are not promoting the EU values, including the freedom of religion and freedom of speech and so on. Thank you very much.